Hey, thanks so much for having me.
It's my absolute pleasure. You've got all these amazing things like you're working for universities, you're doing curriculum, for them, you're acclaimed by Human Givens, you're award nominated, you're ambassador for One Better World Collective. Like it goes on and on and on and on. And there's all these accolades, and clearly you are doing some incredible stuff. And you're also very well known in the world of sustainability because of your work there. So I'm going to throw you right in the deep end because I kind of like doing that to my guests. Reading all this stuff and hearing all this stuff, one would believe that you come from a background of privilege, because mum's paid for me to go to university and, I've got everything going for me. And is it reasonable to make that assumption, or has it been quite a different road for you?
I think a lot of people do actually make that assumption because of the job I have, the kind of house I live in, the car I drive. You know what it's like. We have these societal kind of stereotypes and expectations. And most people would assume that, oh, Charlotte's a university lecturer. She's doing this, she's doing that. Life must have been a breeze for you. And actually, it really hasn't. I had quite a difficult start in life. I was actually born premature. So life starting on this earth, I actually started it with a fight. And that seemed to be the theme so many years of my life on this on this planet, that life was going to be a bit of a fight for me. So I actually grew up in a council estate in the east of England, in a town called Galston-on-Sea. Most of the people who lived on the estate were either on state benefits because they couldn't get any work, or working really, really hard for not a lot of money, and kind of, struggling families. But on a plus note, I did have quite a lot of, kids to kind of run around the estate with and play with. So I did kind of have friends, but life back at home was a completely different story. I lived in quite a volatile household. For so many years, I grew up to believe a certain man was my dad, and then I was told that he wasn't, and that I was in my early teens. That completely ripped my world apart, and I did become quite an angry teenager because I felt like I'd been lied to, and no one had told me the truth, and it completely, it broke my heart because the man that I thought was my father wasn't my father. And to cut a long story short, I found out that my father, he was killed when I was 11 years old. He was hit by a train at a level crossing in Germany. So for me, I just felt, not so much now, but then I just felt robbed. Robbed of my father. I didn't kind of have that supportive father figure. And me and my mum, I don't hold any grudges towards her. For me, she hasn't been a good mother, but I don't hold grudges. It is what it is. And I didn't get that sense of love and that sense of security. And it was a very volatile household. That's all I'm going to say. And it was traumatic. So definitely not privileged in the sense of having, my basic needs. Yes, I had food, I had a roof over my head. When you compare me to people who live in third world countries where they've not even got a roof over their head, they haven't got water. Yes, in that case, I probably was, privileged, looking at it from my perspective now, but definitely not privileged. My childhood left me completely scarred, and it took me a lot of years to kind of try and recover from the sort of trauma and the sort of adverse life circumstances. It wasn't a fun time, put it that way, and it's not something I have liked talking about, but I think it's nice to be able to share that because there are other people out there who are probably going through some of the things that I've been through, and maybe we can talk about those in more detail as we go throughout the interview. But yeah, definitely not privileged, but I would say I'm very lucky. And I feel very, very blessed every day that I wake up to have a beautiful home, to have what I have. When there was a time that I sat there, and this is a true story, I sat there with a packet of noodles, 20 pence, I was 17, I was homeless. I was in this, speaking of B&Bs, this god-awful B&B, so I know you know what I mean. And I sat there with this small bottle of vodka, because let's be realistic, when you've got lots of pain and trauma, I did turn to alcohol. And I just sat there and I thought, if this is my life, I do not want it. I do. And at that point, that felt like that B&B, that sense of hopelessness and shittiness, that this is your life, Charlotte. This is what it's going to be like. I actually did think I don't want to be here anymore. So the message that I have for people is that for me felt like my whole entire life, but it's not. It felt permanent, but everything you go through is temporary. So the kind of message I want to give is that I've been there right in a dark place where I've not wanted to be here. And here I am now trying to live my best life. I'm still a work in progress. So yeah, to answer the question, I feel like I'm privileged now, but I didn't have a privileged background.
Mm. So how did you then, if you were homeless, how did you pick yourself? So from that place, right? I've got my noodles, I've got my vodka, I'm in this shitty B&B, life's not worth it. How do you get from that to where you are now? Like what had to shift in your thinking, or what did shift in your thinking to get you into university and, to get you up off that bench? What shifted?
It's really hard to explain because I think it's such a profound internal, it must be some kind of spiritual thing or something that goes on. But I've always felt that I've always had to have this faith that things are going to get better, no matter how bad they get. And believe me, they have been really bad, really dark. Things are going to get better. And that is the only consistent thing when I've been alone and had absolutely no one. Like, that is the only thing that has got me through. Things are going to get better. There was a time in my childhood, I was quite young, and I remember crying, and I was just laying there crying. I was in pain, and I just sat there and thought, I'm going to get away from this lot one day, and I'm going to go off and do amazing things. So I think from even quite a young age, I set that kind of, it is almost like an imaginary world in your head that you create. My future is going to look like this. I'm going to get away from this. I think that is the only thing that got me through, because I don't honestly think I would be here if I didn't have that ability to kind of do that. So my advice to anyone would be, no matter how bad it gets, even if you just have faith, you don't have to be religious, you don't have to believe it, but have faith in yourself that things are going to be okay and you will make things better.
Yeah. It's quite an optimistic sort of point of view, isn't it? I haven't had a life like that. I've had fantastic parents, and had a lot of luck, but I have fallen on my face many, many times. And the thing that's gotten me up again is that exactly what you're talking about, that, just that belief that there's always something better around the corner. And there always is. That's the funny thing. It's it makes me really heartbroken how many people do give up. And some actually take their own lives. And when they're not, they just can't see, what good could be around the corner. It's absolutely heartbreaking. But you did it. But how did you get into university? Or how did you get there without a penniless B&B bum? How did you? I might be exaggerating, but how did you, what was it that you said, right, that's it, I'm going to university, that's it, I'm changing everything for me?
Well, I didn't follow the conventional route, actually. I ever since I was about 13, I've worked. So I had jobs. I used to work in a cafeteria on Great Yarmouth Seafront, and I used to always earn myself some money. So I've always been a worker. So I did go to do my my A levels. So I was intending to get away and go to university, just to get away from the area I lived, because I was so determined. Right, at this age, I'm off. Unfortunately, I got glandular fever, and I was really poorly, and I ended up in hospital for about two weeks, 3 weeks. It had gotten so bad, I was laying at home, I literally couldn't breathe, and they had to take me to the sort of emergency part, and then I had to then be taken to Norfolk and Norwich. So I was in hospital for 2 weeks, so I never got to do my A levels, and it took me a long time to recover from this glandular fever. I just felt rough for about 2 years, and I don't think I've ever really been as energetic as I was back then because of this glandular fever. So to cut a long story short, I went and did waitressing. I've done caravan cleaning, hotel cleaning, and then I got a job, and then I did receptionist at a casino as well. I've done a whole host of random jobs, and I'm sure most people probably have before they've gone on to be successful in their chosen field. And I'm not ashamed to share that I've done those jobs, because they're valid jobs and they contribute to the economy, and I earned money, and that enabled me to survive, and that's fine. So then I worked at Aviva, and I worked there as a customer service assistant, and then I kind of worked my way up, and then I ended up actually at the age of just 22 going to Bangalore in India, and I was training and coaching their call centre team. So they'd set up a new pension contact centre, and I was selected by the senior management team to go over there and train and coach the teams. Yeah, thank you. India completely transformed my thinking, because it's a very deeply spiritual place. It's got a really beautiful energy about it. And it also opened my eyes up to kind of the poverty amongst riches. Like when you go to Bangalore, you've got these beautiful shopping malls. And then beside that, you've got people begging on the streets just to survive. And it really did open my eyes out to how other people live. And I suppose that's probably influenced maybe my passion for sustainability now. So so I did all that, worked and worked. Then I self-taught myself Adobe Illustrator, InDesign, Photoshop, and decided that I wanted to do creative design. And the reason I wanted to do that, because the only thing I got an A-star in at school was art. That was my thing. I used to love painting, drawing. So I kind of wanted to reconnect to that creative part of myself. So I did that. I worked in marketing management for quite a while. And I thought, do you know what? I really, really wanted to go to university. And my grandpa, bless him, he's passed away now, but he always wanted me to go to Norwich University of the Arts. So I decided, do you know what? I'm going to go and do my degree. So I got all of my portfolio ready, and then I went along and they accepted me. And I didn't have any A-levels or anything like that, just my GCSEs, but I got in based on the portfolio that I had presented to them. So it was more of I wanted to better myself. I wasn't trying to escape a dark place or anything. There's a continuing theme with me that I'll always try to move on and better myself. So yeah, it wasn't like a trying to escape or just going to uni because I'm 18 and there's nothing, that's what you're expected to do. It was a completely unconventional route for me.
So how did you end up being a lecturer? How do you go from being a student to a lecturer?
Working for quite a long time. I've worked in creative agencies. I've worked as a marketing manager. So I've got quite a lot of industry experience. And what actually happened is at the age of about, I think I was 30, 31, I had burnout. I had a breakdown. So I couldn't, I left the marketing management role because I one of these people that just keeps going and going and going and going and not realizing that I'm not processing absolutely anything. So I think it just got to the point that my mind, body and soul just had no room for anything else. So I just couldn't function as a human being anymore. So that time out enabled me to reassess actually what do I want to do with my life. I didn't feel I was getting enough of a sense of meaning from the marketing jobs that I was doing. It just felt a bit too corporate for me and not creative enough because it's very data driven, very analytical, which is great, but not for a creative mind like myself. So I thought I'll take this industry experience and I will apply to be a lecturer. So I actually started in further education, which is college students, not university, and then just kind of worked my way up like I did at Aviva, just diligently working away.
Wow. We've got so much in common. I had glandular fever too when I was younger, and it knocked me off my bloody feet for so long. And I kept,
Really?
for 10 years, I just kept falling asleep everywhere, just kept falling asleep. And yeah, and I was also a TAFE teacher, which was a tertiary teacher, but not university. But I haven't had any desire to be a university lecturer. So one of the things that you've just written, but now you've left there at Suffolk University, you've written a whole sustainability curriculum around the creative design and all that kind of stuff, and fashion. So, but you based it on human givens. Now, we mentioned that in the intro, and when I first met you, I was like, what's human givens? I've never heard of this. So, but once you explained it to me, I was like, wow, I really love that stuff. So tell us more about it so other people can understand, because I think it's fantastic.
Oh yeah, it is absolutely fantastic. And I actually just randomly came across it when I was researching for kind of frameworks, new frameworks that I could apply to writing the degree that I was writing at the time. So it really is, in a nutshell, unlocking the very best of human potential. That is what it is. And it's a framework to help us to become the best human beings that, we can be. And they have a set of guiding principles. And all it really is that we have fundamental needs that need to be met for us to be truly happy. And if we're not meeting all of those fundamental needs, then we're not going to be happy. We're not going to be able to live a fulfilled life. It's almost comparable to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's kind of comparable to that, in that you obviously, the bottom of the pyramid up. And it's just about harnessing your inner resources to, transform your life. It is actually a psychotherapy approach. But I saw that and thought, I can apply this to education to the degree, because that, taking care of oneself as a student is a massive thing. So how can I take that framework and apply it to the degree? So it is just a set of guiding principles, really, and needs. I would advise anyone who's listening to go along to the Human Givens Institute website and just have a look at what it is they do. Whether you're a psychotherapist, a counsellor, or just someone who's really, really interested in it, it's absolutely fascinating, because it has application not just in psychotherapy, but the massive changes that the world needs. Imagine if we all looked after ourselves and loved ourselves, what the world could be like. And I think the Human Givens can be applied systemically across everything to almost create a better world in which we all thrive and which we all flourish.
Well, and don't we need that? Boy, we need.
Yes, we do, please, like now. But it's
Yeah.
transitionary, isn't it? It's a work in progress.
Like 100 years ago, I think. Boy, we dug ourselves into a hole. But I think we can get out. But the as you're saying, I think we do need to all find these, whether it's human givens or whether it's something else, we all need to find that something that's going to really unlock the potential in us, and also find peace within ourselves, because I think we're very, we're hard on ourselves. We torture ourselves. We torment ourselves. I'm not good enough. Like, I've got self-doubt. I'm an imposter. We just go on and on and on, beating ourselves up. And yet at the end of the day, all we want is peace. Like, all we want is just to thrive in our daily lives. And we don't have to be writing curriculums. We don't have to be saving the world. But I have this strong belief we get off the bench that if we are all doing the thing we love, we will thrive. So I'm not going to say perfectly, but so much better within ourselves. We'll be thriving more. And we have to be better contributors. Like, there's just no other outcome other than I'm going to be a better contributor to the planet, to the world, to the animals, to humanity, if I'm feeling the best that I can possibly feel. So, God, I urge people to go and have a look at that. And it might not be your thing, but it doesn't matter. Like, get that process started. Just start exploring what can I find out there that's going to make me feel fantastic about myself. And I'm on a mission to unlock the magnificence in everybody, because we are all incredible. When you were that kid, sitting there younger, even before you were in the B&B, just feeling like you're finding out about your dad and, your mum wasn't the best mum and all that sort of stuff. I think that two parts to this. One, I think you already had something within you that was, you were in touch with your magnificence, even though you probably didn't realize, because that was a thing that was pulling you, towards doing better. But just if only, I think what I'm trying to say is, if only we knew back then what we know now, our lives could be massively different. We wouldn't, I know we've got to make mistakes. I know that, but God, it's a tough world being a human, isn't it?
It's very tough being a human. Next time I might ask them to send me somewhere else.
I don't know that there's too many other good planets.
Oh, maybe not. But this could be like heaven on, we can have a heaven on an earth, and we can have a beautiful society. But I truly believe, like you're saying about that magnificence within us, it starts from within us. Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. And when I say that, people just kind of laugh at me and go, oh, whatever, Charlotte. But actually, for me, that's been the fundamental truth, that you do have to be the change. It starts with you. And imagine if every single person in the world thought, I need to, even if they just begun with self-awareness, why do I act like this? If we just become more conscious human beings, imagine it's like a butterfly effect, and it just resonate out. If everyone just took the time and were actually taught hey, take care of yourself. You know, I didn't know how to take care of myself. I'm sure you didn't. And there's lots of us on this planet who don't quite know how to do that. And that's why I kind of put that into the degree, and it should be in education, even from a really, really young age. Like, it's okay not to be okay. And, you know, you are amazing. There's only one you on this planet with your unique attributes and skills. You know, what are you going to do with those? Imagine if we did that. Children from a young age, we'd have little geniuses running around just doing amazing things and changing things for the better. Be amazing.
100%. I think that kids already know that when they're born. You know, I think that we beat it out of them. I think that society,
we do, yeah,
is just bullshit. You know, it really bugs me. And you know, I sit on the fence about the education system. We need it. I love education. You know, I love all that, but I don't think it's right. You know, I think it's so outdated that we're not in the industrial era anymore. We don't need to teach competition. We don't need to teach. We need to teach people how to care about each other, how to be kind, and that extends to being kind to ourselves. And what I really love about you, Charlotte, is you've got this story of success, and you could be promoting that as your story. You know, hey, you know what, if you want to be a lecturer, this is how you can do it. And I did it, and I overcame homelessness, and I blah, blah, blah. But what I really love, and, you know, and why I really wanted to get you on the podcast, apart from the fact that I love you, I reckon you're just a bloody grouse.
Thank you.
But, you know, I mean, we're great mates. I just love you. But I think that you have chosen, and you remember having this conversation with her, you've shifted your whole focus now to say, no, I'm going to focus on this self-care. You know, I'm going to start telling people that no matter what you've been through, you know, it does get better. We need to focus on self-care. You know, we need to love ourselves. We need to put that at the very core, at the very, before anything else, or anything else we've achieved doesn't matter at all. And before you're talking about having burnout, and you said, I don't know how to look after myself, and that's been true for so long too. You know, I have not had a complete burnout, you know, but I don't know how the hell I haven't, you know, because I am of that age and of that bloody mentality, you know, go, 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 achieve, achieve, achieve. And it's taken me till my 50s to really think, wait a second, no, if I go down, everything I've done goes down with me, you know, and I can't change lives. I can't make the world a better place. But I love that you're going self-care. So tell us more. Why did you do that? Because there's kind of a lot of, not shame, but almost embarrassment, or it's kind of like it's a fluffy extra, that stuff. No, let's talk about achievements. Why are you so hell-bent to get us all to put self-care at the top of the list?
Because there's that saying, you know, you've got to love yourself, because you've got to take care of yourself, because, and I'm not just talking about, you know, you've got to take care of yourselves spiritually, physically, emotionally. And the reason I'm so hell-bent on it is because I've been through it. It's first-hand experience, and I know how damn hard it is to go from that place where I call them little mind gremlins. You're not good enough. You're never going to achieve anything. No one's going to love you. You know, you're rubbish. And sometimes, you know, even now I still get the mind gremlins, successful, I'm doing what I do, but that'll go, oh, Charlotte, you know, imposter syndrome starts coming. You get a lot of speakers and talkers who say, oh, I'm fully recovered. And I think, you know what, good for you if you are. That's absolutely fantastic. But I am humble enough to openly admit, I don't know if I will ever be fully recovered. And I want to speak to the people that are out there that actually don't know if they're going to be able to get through what they've got through, and give that wisdom that, you know, you will be okay, and you can do this. And, you know, I'm still just going to be this work in progress. But I think the thing that you were talking about earlier, when you said you keep going and going and going, it's that resilience. You've got that inner resilience. Some people have it, and some people kind of need a little nudge. You know, it's in there, it's within everyone, but you're obviously quite resilient. And I think, like yourself, I had that natural resilience, but that resilience is what caused my burnout, because I just keep going and going and going and going. And now I'm like, right, okay, take a breather, need to look after myself. So the reason I'm hell bent on it is because I know how transformative it is, because I've done it myself. So I'm not just speaking from a textbook. I've been the ups, the downs, the in-betweens,
Mm.
I it's from first-hand experience, and that is why I care so much. I haven't shared all of the stuff that I've been through. To be quite honest, I think I'd need to write a blinking book to we'd be here all day, maybe that might be an idea, maybe to do that one day. But self-care is key. You've got to love yourself, because if you love yourself and you work on yourself, you become more aware of why you act the way you do. So, like for me, my feelings of not feeling good enough become from my childhood. My constant need to need approval come from my excessive working, because it come from wanting approval from my mum, wanting her love.
Mm.
So you begin to realize, and when you go within, you actually can make amazing, profound changes. If someone would have said, "Oh, Charlotte, it's because of this," a psychotherapist, I'd have gone, "Oh," you get defensive. But when you go in within yourself, the answers are all there. It's amazing. And like I say, it's through first-hand experience. Sorry, I'm rambling now, but I'm just so passionate about it.
No, I think it's not rambling. It's bloody essential, and I love the humility about it, because a lot of, and I know that you want to really take this now and start to share this journey. And, it's you're beforehand, and it's still there. Like, you still want to share the sustainability. You still want to share that, because that's such a
Of
passion
course, yeah.
for you. But you were sort of on this journey. I'm just going to share sustainability. I want to talk. I want to share it. I want to be a speaker, and I want everyone to
Awesome.
love to embrace
Yes.
sustainability. But now you've taken this little twist and said, well, hang on a minute. If there's no point promoting this big adventure of everything's perfect when there are going to be people out there who have been through what you've been through, and that the world needs more people like you who are willing to have that humility and say, we're not all sitting in a perfect little cup. It's okay, and you can still succeed even if you've been through shit. You can, but sometimes success isn't being a university lecturer or being one of the very well-known people in sustainability. It's not that. Sometimes success is just getting up out of bed the next day and looking in the mirror and saying, I'm okay. I actually like myself.
You're so right. And as you were saying that, I was thinking it was almost tandem, our thoughts. Sometimes success, like you say, is just getting out of bed in the morning. It is just brushing your teeth. It's sometimes just getting your backside to work and getting out of the door, and for that, success is not this. I think the way our society is structured at the moment, it builds quite unhealthy kind of ideas of what success is, particularly with things like, the Instagram generation and kind of TikTok. Everyone kind of wants to be Insta famous. And, if you're not famous, or you've not got this type of job, then you've not succeeded. And it's like, well, like I said about the cleaning and the waitressing jobs that I've done, they contribute to society just as much
Yeah.
as somebody else. Success is not about material things.
Yeah.
It's in here. It's your mind, your body, your heart, your soul. It's everything.
Yeah.
That's what success is: knowing who you are as a human being, sticking to your values and your beliefs, healing yourself, becoming the best human that you can be, and then going out there and helping others do the same. Well, that's what I think anyway.
100%. No, that's exactly what I think. And I think that we're often ambushed, with thoughts on, or information about you're successful if you're earning 6 figures and 7 figures and all that kind of shit. And I say all that kind of shit. I mean, sometimes I wish, that I was getting that, 7 figures. But the point is, it's it buys things. It buys you a situation where you can relieve some stress. But I don't really feel like, when I'm on my deathbed, I want to look back. I don't want to say, oh, I worked so bloody hard, I made 7 figures. I don't want to say that. Well, I'd like to say that as an extra, but I want to say that I worked so hard, and I don't want to glorify hard, but I worked hard to make the world better for humanity, animals, and the planet, and I had an impact. I know that I impacted thousands of people. And to me, that's success, and often struggle with my own mind about quantifying that, because
Mm.
of our bloody education system that teaches us to compete. And we were drummed into us, oh, you need to get a job and you need to be successful, and
Oh,
only
that old adage,
successful
yes.
people do this. And you're not successful if you don't. And I remember that as a kid and as a teenager, leaving school, and I was so pissed about that. I thought, I just want to ride motorbikes and be a rock star. And, and that the teachers didn't think.
I just wanted to party. That's all I wanted to do. Go out to festivals and dance. But you do at that age, you just want to be free to explore who you are and explore the world. I think to say about education, I think the difference between me as a university lecturer and school, I think for university, they're following what, students are actually following what they're actually passionate about. They're at the age where they're like, this is actually what I'm really excited and what I'm really passionate about. And I think university is a fantastic outlet for that, when young people are, or even mature students, they've found themselves like, this is actually what I'm really passionate about. This is what I want to go and do. Whereas I agree with you with school. I think it should be a little bit more holistic, a little bit more perhaps based on the individual. I don't know in my mind how that's going to work, but how about we look at individuals and what they actually like, what they're good at, and then harness that for them to make a contribution to society, then get them to learn all of this different stuff. Because I think if you balance it out in the end, you're still going to have people who are going to go off and be work in the tech sector. You're still going to want people who are going to be marketeers. You're still going to have like people who want to work with their hands and make stuff. We're still going to have, farmers and things like that, but just letting people children will naturally gravitate to what they love. And they'll soon let you know when they don't love it. They already know. We just don't listen.
That's right.
Parents we don't listen. I mean, I just wanted to draw and paint and be around horses, and that was pretty much me. And what did you love to do when you were younger?
Play guitar, but play
guitar,
bands, make all my family pretend they were in a band with me. We all had tennis rackets, and I was the only one.
That's so cool.
I'm sure
there you go. But I think children, like you say, they're born with this inner knowing, and then I think by the time they're sort of adults, we forget. I was like, who am I and what am I here for? Because I had those questions. I didn't have any sense of purpose for a long, long time, and I had to go within to find that. Because if not, I think I'd have just been aimlessly wandering from job to job and not have a sense of any, sense of happiness. So, yeah.
So what about some self-care tips? Because we can't just have you saying, it's all about self-care. I mean, we might as well make the most of you while we've got you. So
awesome, yeah.
Were there any simple self-care tips that you think are valuable, worth sharing?
I think one of the things we all tend to do is if we haven't had a great day or we're not feeling good or we do something wrong, we tend to beat ourselves up about it. Don't. It doesn't matter. On the grand scheme of things, does it really, really matter? Because I think we occupy our brains with all of this stuff like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have said that. Or I'm not, or I'm not okay. It's okay not to be okay. There you go. So that's tip one. It's okay not to be okay. It's okay to have a shitty day. We all have them. I did try and follow the, and this is about self-care, the happiness mindset. And I ended up following that and not releasing my negative thoughts and anger. And that made me a completely unbalanced person because you can't be happy all the time if you've got all this anger and stuff. It's okay to feel it, release it, let it go. So if you're angry or not having a great day, feel it, acknowledge it, don't dwell, let it go. Because I think dwelling and keeping our minds with all this stuff willing around is not great. So yeah, don't dwell on stuff.
Yeah.
And also just take some time out. I tell people this, and I'm sometimes guilty of this, I think, oh gosh, even if it's just 5 minutes, 10 minutes a day, just do some breathing exercises. I find when I'm having a particularly stressful time, I'll just do some breathing exercises, just long, deep breathing. That tends to help. It really, really does psychologically calm the body down. And I think it's a theme for me. Have faith in you because you're awesome. You've forgotten. And that's the thing I think, like yourself, that I want to do is just remember that you are an amazing being with amazing potential. You just forgot. You're a creator. You can do and make amazing things. So just remember that.
Yeah.
And love yourself. That's the biggest one. Like, because I think a lot of people, I found, having talking to people like yourself and people in the One Better World Collective, there's a lot of people out there who have not had good, have had a really hard time. Like when I was a child, child growing up, I used to think I was the only one. And
Mm.
now I realise that there's loads of people over the world out there who've kind of suffered. And it's just, another thing is, like, reach out to other people, don't isolate yourself. Because I went through a period of, in my little dark days, not wanting to kind of talk to anyone. So if there's any like activities you can do, whether it's go to yoga, a singing class, or even some kind of community group, just get outside as well. Go and do something. Don't just sit inside. And if there's something you don't want to do, like for me, for example, I've joined the gym. Mine says don't want to go to the gym. Do you know why your brain does that? Because it's easier. You get into the habit. Your brain wants to do the easiest thing. So if it says, I can't be bothered to go for that walk, go for that walk. If it says to me, Charlotte, I don't want to go to the gym, those things that you don't want to do. And then you'll just get in a continual habit of doing positive things. And also just acknowledge your thoughts and your feelings. Because I think this, society in general, there's so many things we can numb them. We can numb them through overworking. We can numb them through alcohol. Some people numb them with drugs. If you don't feel, you're not going to be able to heal.
Ooh, I like that. And that's so true, isn't it? This is a toxic, what is it? Toxic positivity. It's like, you don't be angry, just be grateful, just be happy, just have positive thoughts. Screw that shit, because like you can't do that all the time. And yes, we should, if we recognize we're having negative thoughts, yes, think about it and say, well, why am I doing this? Okay, it would be great to start switching my thoughts over, to have that conversation with yourself. But this whole completely ignoring negative thoughts, as we have 90%, we've got a negative bias, and our 90% of our thoughts are bloody negative. So like, we would be completely suppressing ourselves as human beings if we just wrote off all the negative thoughts. But it's about, as you're saying, it's about acknowledge them, recognize them, and then question them. And this is one thing that I do. I say, wait, where's that coming from? Where's the truth in that? And then I think, well, there's no truth in that. Okay, let it go. Because I don't think you can let it go unless you actually question it. You have to question and say, where did this come from? And most of the time, I always say it's, perceived reality. You think it's your reality, but it's your perceived reality. It's just, you're just making shit up, and it's based on all the past. We're measuring it against past things that have happened, and it's not even happening in this space and time most of the time, and yet we're already triggered.
That's so true.
I
was reading a book about that actually, where a lot of our reactions, our current reactions, are based on something that happened to us in the past. I think I mentioned it earlier, didn't I, about feelings of like, not self-worth and stuff like that. We're reacting based on previous experiences. So like you said, we're not even reacting in real time, we're stuck in the past. So the key is to kind of, like you say, to think about that and actually rewire your brain to not do that, so that you're almost creating new neural networks in your brain to be more positive and to get out of that habit of being negative. And that's really, really hard. Like, and I think I've tried the whole happiness thing, and it just made me completely unbalanced. I think that it makes us human. Yes, we do get angry. Yes, we sometimes might have a bad day and feel a little depressed. And do you know what? That's okay, because that makes you a human being. I think this whole let's be completely positive it's just, for me, it wasn't achievable. And I don't think it's realistic, and it really doesn't help people who are really struggling, because then it makes them feel less of a human being because they're not able to achieve that. So I think it's important, that conversation that we've just had, that about that whole toxic happiness thing, it completely took me to the other end of the scale. So that was a really good conversation.
Yeah, and I 100%. I think, and that when you talk about creating new pathways and new synapses and all that kind of stuff, it's I get sort of a bit annoyed. People say I have to unlearn that, and I think you unlearning is you can't unlearn. You can't go backwards. You can't, like when people say they're on a diet, I have to stop eating. Your brain doesn't hear, stop, all your brain hears is eating, and you, because you're building that synapse because you're focusing on the eating, so you just keep bloody eating and eating and eating. But you have to actually start a whole new neural pathway to say, I'm living a healthy life. That's got nothing to do with the I have to stop eating. It's just like I'm enjoying living a healthy life. I love fruit. Whereas I'm looking forward to some vegetables. And you completely turn it around and just create new pathways and stop all that old shit, because that old shit, every time you talk about it, you only build a stronger synapse. So it's not even worth bloody doing this whole, I have to stop eating, I have to stop doing this, I have to, if you tell yourself,
you
I
have to
stop.
focus on the new thing. Like visualization is really, really important. A lot of people laugh, but it's like, I've got a story actually. It's just come to me now. I imagine I had a Ford Focus. It was literally nearly dying, rubbish car. When I got in it, I used to imagine myself driving this nice, sleek black car. I didn't know what brand it was, but every time I got in that car, that was what I drove. I now have a gorgeous black Honda Civic. So at the time, I wasn't able to afford it, because I had this car. But, that's just one example of it. And also going back to me when I was younger, saying one day I'm going to get out away from all of this and I'm going to live an awesome life. Well, I kept thinking that, and now I am that. And I kind of believe, my approach is kind of, I do look at like science, neuroscience, the arts, but also I do kind of look at quantum physics. And I think that we live in an energetic world. And I think our brains are way, way more powerful than we actually realize. And I do think we can, I think as the future comes, we're going to learn we manifest stuff. I think there's going to be a new wave of thought on that. I don't quite know what that's going to look like, but I just think what we have in our heads are way more powerful than we realize. And you see with people, don't you, who do transform the way that they think, their lives change.
Yeah.
So there's got to be something in the electrics of the brain and reality. I don't know, I'm going off on a tangent now. It's kind of pseudo spirituality, kind of quantum physics stuff. I'm fascinated by the universe and everything being energy, and it just makes so much sense. What a surprise, you two. Yeah, we've got so much in common. It's awesome.
I know. I love quantum physics. I love it. And it's the world is that is all the world is, and when you're talking about our brain, they say that we only use like 4% of our brain, some small figure like that. I can't remember what it is, but I agree. I think we have not truly harnessed the power of our brain, and we have not truly harnessed how quantum physics works and how we can really, really manifest and grow and really thrive and flourish within it if we actually understood it, and harnessed it and utilized it for good. You utilized it to make a better world. But if I come and stay with you, we're not going to get much sleep, are we? It's just going to be, we're going to go down rabbit hole.
We're just going to be running through my massive book. I mean, you come and look at my book collection. It's all I've got so many self-care books. I've got like books about creating a better fashion industry. I've got books on sustainability. And then my other thing is philosophy as well, like Plato. He's my favorite because his vision of what society could or should be is kind of what the United Nations with the SDGs is trying to create, really. So it's amazing how the ancients years ago thought of all these things, and we're still where we are now. What went wrong? Something did somewhere along the line.
That goes through my head all the time, is like, why are we still doing stuff? Thousands of years ago yet they find all these things on cave walls, like tick, 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 into cave walls. And it's so much more advanced than what we're doing now. And we've just become too bloody smart for ourselves, and we've turned into bloody lunatics. But I really think that society is imploding and it's caving in on itself, and we have to actually start. But I'm seeing changes. I am seeing this.
There are changes,
of people who are coming up with selfless sort of giving, and starting to really, really work towards this tipping point, which I keep saying I believe is going to happen. I don't know if it's going to happen in my lifetime, but I do see that we will eventually reach a tipping point for good, and I believe in that, and I refuse to believe anything different, because I just see so many people, and maybe it's who I hang with. I mean, I hang in these groups, but maybe I'm just lucky, or maybe I'm just sort of narrow narrow-minded or closed off to the rest of the world, but the people I hang with, like they're my circles, and people are doing
Yeah.
stuff. So I think the more of us that hang together, the bigger this tipping, the closer we'll get to this tipping point. But now you mentioned in there about the UN SDGs. So most people know what that is. In case you don't know, because there's that many damn acronyms out in the damn world today. The Sustainability Development Goals, which is brought in by the UN for, hoping to achieve certain things by 2030. They're not going to achieve what they want to achieve by 2030 because we've just got so far to go. But if we continue to work in that direction, and I can't remember them all, but it's life below water, life on the earth, ending poverty, ending hunger, gender equity, it just goes on and on. There's 17 of them. So, they're great. And I think we should, the shame, and I've said this to, Ian Spears, who we both know, who we met through with One Better World Collective, which is focused on SDGs, is that, it's such a shame that we even have to have the conversation, because why aren't we as human beings just taking care of each other and the planet and the animals? Like, why aren't we just doing that? Because we're supposed to be the caretakers for the planet, and we shouldn't even need the UN goals. We shouldn't need them. But anyway, you're a huge advocate of them and you've blended it into your curriculum, and other stuff that you're doing. So I think one of the things is that when you talk about any of these SDGs, or, ending poverty, gender equality, homelessness, what we're doing to the planet under the water, we're trashing the reefs, it's just the plastic problem. What happens with a lot of people is that and climate change, didn't add that one, that's probably a big one, is that a lot of people think, yeah, well, I hear about it, I get it, but I'm just one person, and I can't make a bloody ounce of difference. Give us some tips, Charlotte. Come on. What can we do?
I think with the United Nations SDGs, because they are so vast and they cover so many points, and I think, to be honest, when you look at them, they are really speared towards governments, non-governmental organisations and businesses, really. So if you were to just read those, that may be a little overwhelming, but I think it's just, being more conscious of what it is that you're doing. Like, you can contribute to, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, in a nutshell, are striving to make the world a better place. So whatever you can do as an individual to make the world a better place, like I said earlier, however small that is, if you get so many people continuing to do that, and it just builds and it builds and it accelerates, we'll achieve those goals. We don't do it individually, we do it together as a collective. So don't think because you're an individual and your contribution is small, that's fine. You get a small contribution and then you get other people, and then it just turns into a massive, monumentous achievement. So it can be really simple things like recycling. My other half is absolutely obsessed with recycling. I'll literally put like a box down or something that I haven't even finished cooking yet, and it's already in the recycling bin. He's turned into a bit of a recycling freak. So yeah, recycling, when you get boxes and stuff from your shopping, just pop them in your recycling bin. It could also be something simple, like if you've got some old clothes, don't throw them in the bin, take them down to a charity shop or send them to a charity who then send them to third world countries, because that's a good thing to do, and then it doesn't go to land waste, because the fashion industry contributes so much to land waste. That's a really good thing to do. It can be simple things at home, like when you're at home, have a shower for 5 minutes instead of like half an hour. You're saving water. Turning your lights off, little things like that. And also, what you're wearing, or question, do I really need this? Because we are encouraged to consume. We live in a consumer culture. And my view is that is what's got to change for our whole world to change. We can't just keep buying stuff for the sake of it. And we all do it. I think I still occasionally do it. When I buy something, I go, did I really need that? I'm not perfect. I'm not 100% there, but I'm trying my best. So if you're going to buy something, do you really need it? Also, if you're buying something, question, where does this actually come from? You can find a lot out just by looking on the label or the back of a food packet and just see. Also, just I've done it in my garden. I've got I wish you could see it actually, but you can't. It's beautiful. I've put all in my garden. I've put all cottage plants and flowers for the butterflies and the bees, because obviously with pesticides and stuff like that. So if you're a bit green fingered, make a lovely, beautiful garden for the insects and the bees. They really appreciate it. And bees are really important because they pollinate our food, and so do the insects. And without them, there's a word that I'm not going to use. It's the F word. That's basically if we've got no bees, no pollinators, yeah, we're going to have a huge problem. So it's just little things, really. Little
Yeah.
things do make a big difference. So you can make a difference.
Oh, absolutely, we can. And the bees, if I was reading, we've got 4 years. If the bees disappear, we've got 4 years on this planet, and that is it.
Exactly.
And I think that we've got to get better at understanding that, and understanding our entire ecosystem, not just the bugs and not just this and not just that, like the entire ecosystem needs to work together. It's an interconnected web, and if we don't get it right, if we keep screwing up, killing all our species off, it's not just a bug. It's not a bug. It's that bug had a purpose, and that bug fed the next one and the next one, and the food chain in the ecosystem, and eventually it'll get to that animal or that species that we did need, that we killed because we killed all these subspecies, and we just don't. That's what should be taught at school. That's the stuff that needs to be taught, is how to take care of each other and the planet. I could go down, I'm like you, I could go down a whole bloody rant about this, but
yes, we could, but it's just, I think the problem is that I think as a species for a long, long time, we've had this dominion over nature kind of perspective. And I think that is the biggest problem. We don't have dominion over nature. In fact, it has dominion over us, because if we continue in the way that we're going, the earth, everyone keeps saying save the earth. The earth has survived cataclysmic volcano eruptions, meteorites hitting from space, and she's rejuvenated. The only thing that's not going to be here is the human species. And that's the thing we kind of need to understand, that everyone talks about the ecosystem, and I know you understand it from an interconnected perspective like I do. We're part of that.
Yep.
We're not something that's separate from that. And I think, like you say, that should be taught in schools. And we do need to understand that we need to nurture nature. We're a part of it. And to destroy it, we are just destroying ourselves, because all it's ultimately going to lead to, and it's a very scary prospect, is our own extinction. We're going to annihilate ourselves. So the earth is going to be fine. It's us that's not going to be okay. She will rejuvenate. So the only ones we're really doing this for is ourselves.
Yeah.
We need to save ourselves. That's my thoughts anyway.
And when you think of it like that, it's kind of like, well, why aren't we here? How can we be so bloody, ignorant? But it's, and I that, Jonas Salk is a, well-known biologist, and he says, that if humans were gone, the entire planet would rejuvenate itself within 50 years, and it would just be flourishing and perfect within 50 years. Goes to show, how quick, exactly what you're saying, how quick Mother Nature can repair itself. It is already, you only got to look at all the things that happen, the earthquakes, the floods, everything else. Mother Nature's, we've got nothing on the planet, and
I think Mother Nature's getting a bit fed up with us.
So
I think we're like a bunch of naughty school children. We need to sort our act out. If not, she's gonna, evict us. So yes, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, living sustainably and loving ourselves is very, very important.
And but coming back to that message of yours, loving yourself, it's you're not going to care for others, and you're not going to extend that care if you've got no care for yourself. If you start with yourself, and you care about yourself, and you respect yourself, and love yourself. And when you said it before, I thought, oh, well, that's all well and good, but not everyone knows really how to do that, and we're taught that you're a bloody wanker if you say that you love yourself, that sort of stuff. So it's a
We're
hard
taught that it's,
hurdle.
oh, that's selfish to think of yourself. Well, actually, no, it's not. And I know it is easier said than done, but like I said to you, I've been there, and it's like, I need to learn to love myself. And that's really difficult when you've had it drilled down your throat from like a young child that you're a waster, you're
Yeah,
you've got 666 on your forehead and Lord knows what. You just think, well, it's
yeah,
very hard when you've got all that internal dialogue that tells you the complete opposite. And it is really, really difficult. And the only way around that is, I would advise, if you need to go and get some counselling, there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, nothing to be ashamed of.
yeah.
If you feel like, you can work with your own mind and do that yourself, that's also fine as well. It's just those little gremlins. They just need to shut up. They just need to be quiet.
And then
Mind gremlins.
and keep a little, you know what I've got? I've got a folder of evidence. So every time I do something, achieve something, I'm not just tying my shoelaces up, but every time I do a talk or do something, I'm in
Yeah.
the paper or on the radio, whatever it
Yeah.
is, I keep a page of it, and I've got this folder, and whenever I've got those voices, I get it out and I say, nah, no, you're not an imposter. Look what you've done. Look at all the lives you've changed, and I think we've got to get better at keeping that sort of log of evidence of all the good things that we have done to prove to ourselves, because we can't just generate it in our heads. We can't just generate everything we've done. It's with your amygdala glands, all the negative stuff is concentrated
Mm,
just around your glands, and positive emotions, positive feelings are like little sprinkles all around your brain, and you can't harness them. You can't just grab them all and say, oh yeah, but I'm really good. I'm really good. So sometimes you just need that external, evidence folder or list of things, something up on your wall, just to sort of get your mind
definitely.
into the right place. But I have loved this. Absolutely love this. I love you.
It's been awesome.
It's been fantastic. I have a question I ask everyone. I reckon my listeners go, oh, here's the bloody question. Here we go. We're winding up. It's anyway, this podcast is Get Off the Bench, as you know, and it's to inspire people to back themselves, push through challenges, just have a crack at whatever it is. So what advice would you give to somebody who would love to make a difference in the world, but they feel they have suffered too much trauma or too many setbacks, and perhaps feel it's just too hard to get back up? What advice would you give them?
Have faith in yourself. You are awesome. You can do whatever you put your mind to. And I know it's easier said than done. And you may not be able to achieve everything you want to achieve in one big step. Not many of us do. Take
Mm.
small steps, break things down into small tasks. Like success, we talked about it earlier. If you're really sad and down, and you want to make a difference, but you're really depressed and you're not getting out of bed, or you're struggling to look after yourself, put those as, I need to get out of bed. I need to make sure I brush my teeth. I need to make sure I shower. I need to make sure that I get outside, because unless you do those things, you're not going to get better. I've been there where I've sat there feeling exactly the same as maybe whoever's listening out there now, that you feel like that very thing that you don't want to do is going to make your life better, and it's going to make you feel better. And as Karen says, you've just got to get off the bench and do it. That is what you've got to do. You've got to. And no matter how many of those little gremlins are in your head are telling you that you're shit, you can't do this, you're not good enough, just learn to turn the volume down on those. And the more that you do that, eventually they're not there. They pop up occasionally. They're not ever going to disappear, because I think that's part of our human kind of makeup and kind of biochemistry in the brain and stuff. But you've just got to have faith in yourself, and don't be afraid to ask for help. And also surround yourself with positive people who want who when you're around them, you get that buzz, they make you feel good. And my biggest sense of advice, anyone who's really negative or draining your life, or who is not good for you, they've got to go. You have to get rid of them and surround yourself with beautiful people who are on a similar mission to you, or just want the very best for you, because that will help you heal. And then once you are healing, you can go off and do those awesome things you want to do. So I hope that helps.
No, I think that's fantastic. And exactly what you're saying, surround yourself by the right people, because, a lot of people that have experienced trauma, and they've had all these setbacks, usually, I'm not going to say always, but usually it's somebody else in their environment, or they're a victim of circumstances or within their environment that has caused these things to happen. And I'm not saying that you can't just be a victim, you can't just play victim and never get up. You can't do that. But if you've got to understand that at that point of these things happening, somebody else had power over you, or something else had power over you, and you've got that power in there, and it's just a matter of bringing that back up to it's exactly what you said. I'm just saying it in a different way, but it's just, so often we let others have power over us, and we don't realize that we are so damn incredible in here. And if only we can just bring it up like a flower, just water that damn seed of goodness, and just keep watering it until it blooms.
Big, beautiful sunflower.
Yeah,
We're
we
all
do.
gorgeous, beautiful sunflowers, and we all just need to nurture so we all blossom and bloom. Be amazing.
We do think in tangent, because it was a sunflower I had in my head.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's getting a bit weird now.
Yeah,
It's good though. It's the same vibe. We think alike, and that's great. And I think that is testament to the point that I made earlier. Surround yourself with people of a similar mind and a similar vibe, and you'll thrive.
Absolutely, 100%. Now, where can people find you?
At the moment, just on LinkedIn, so you can find me, Charlotte Lahardy, in brackets, the modern day magi. I will have a website launching soon, beamoderndayMagi.com. That is coming very soon. But in the meantime, if you want to connect with me, you can do so on LinkedIn. And, if you want to ask me for any tips or advice or anything about self-care or sustainability or the UN SDGs or the One Better World Collective, just whatever you want to ask me, hit me up on LinkedIn and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, and she will too, because she's absolutely beautiful. You got the most beautiful heart, and I'm just so and I mean it. I mean it, and it's the first time we met, I just loved you, and you just went on this tangent. It's kind of like, this is what I've here to say, and then it's like, actually no, I'm just going to share my life, and it was the best thing you did. You just.
Yeah, that took a lot. That just sharing with, I think it's because I knew I was with a group of like-minded, awesome people, and I think we all ended up sharing quite a lot, actually, didn't we? In that Zoom call, it was amazing, actually, and quite beautiful. That was good.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Charlotte is amazing. Please do connect with her, because she's just most gorgeous heart, and I'm just so thankful that she's sharing this. I shouldn't say she, I'm still talking to you, Charlotte. I'm still just grateful that you are sharing this just much needed message of loving ourselves and starting with us, because that's the only way we're going to make a difference in the world, and it's the only way we're going to thrive is to start with us. So what a wonderful message. Thank you for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been absolutely fantastic.
It's been brilliant. Can we do it again?
We might not record it for a podcast, but I reckon we'll you and I could probably do 5 hours.
We'll just have plenty of Zoom calls and catch ups anyway. We definitely need to stay in touch.
We definitely do. I'm not opposed to that. All right, well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll catch you very soon.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
See ya. Ta-da.